Hello, and welcome to Care Plus Live. This week's theme is Overwhelm, and today's message is brought to you by Amie del Sordo, LCSW. Amie started as a child specialist for 262 Help at Care Plus in 2004, and now serves as our Senior Vice President of Hospital and Community Services. She's the Mental Health Coordinator for the Bergen County CIT, and she is our Care Plus superhero extraordinaire who is very passionate about supporting our first responders and has spearheaded the new Hero Call Line for those that live or work in Bergen County. So I know Amie will touch on that during her talk today, so I'm going to pass it over to her to share her message on Overwhelm. So thanks again, Amie.
Thanks, Caitlin. Thanks for having me. First, I just want to thank all of our frontline workers, our first responders and healthcare professionals, all the essential employees that are out there working day in and day out during this pandemic. I know that's very difficult to do. And keeping in mind that it not only impacts what you're dealing with, but also what you may be dealing with at home with your loved ones. We know that there's so many fears out there about what we may or may not bring home. And many people are feeling overwhelmed, not just that group of people. I'm sure many people are at home working, trying to juggle being a teacher and a mom at the same time, or a dad. It is very difficult. So we recognize that. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for doing what they're
doing. So again, since Amie is really the mastermind, oh, I'm muted. Sorry about that, Amie. Since Amie is the mastermind behind the Hero Call Line, we thought we would do today a little more like a Q&A to get insight on this whole process. So Amie, can you let us know what causes people to feel overwhelmed and what do people experience when they're being overwhelmed?
Sure. When somebody's overwhelmed, it's really that their stress level is just so far too great to manage. They literally become overwhelmed. And there's so many causes that, could create that. So when people are feeling overwhelmed, it's really all consuming. For many people who face these feelings in their lives, it's really like an intense and an unruly emotion that sometimes is very, challenging to manage and overcome. And for people who are confronted with feeling overwhelmed, it's very difficult, to think and act sometimes rationally and even function. It not only is an uncomfortable feeling, but it could take over not just your personal life, but your professional life as well.
So are you talking about people being stressed? Is that the same thing?
That's a good question. Actually, no, it's way more than feeling stressed. People are almost completely submerged by their thoughts and their emotions about what's currently going on for them. Kind of, if you picture yourself in the ocean and getting caught under that wave, it's that overwhelming feeling that takes a shape in so many different ways. For instance, somebody, could have negative emotions. They might feel angry, fearful, anxious, guilt. And it's really hard for folks to sometimes understand or even be able to verbalize what's exactly causing that level of stress, if you will, for them. And, for example, people can have a stressful time at work. Now, for many people who are still working, this is a very stressful time. Traumatic personal experiences could trigger this for somebody, loss of a loved one. During this pandemic, unfortunately, if it's not someone in your immediate family, it's someone very close to you, a neighbor, a loved one that you hear a story about that's losing loved ones, another stressful time for many people. And it creates this overwhelming feeling that incites all these fears and emotions. And it could be short periods of time and it could be much longer periods of time. But they're very hard to manage. These emotions, and to understand the triggers behind it is really important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what would you say are some good ways to address these feelings and these unmanageable emotions of overwhelm?
I think first it's really important to accept the feelings that you're experiencing, especially if you're feeling anxious. There is, to a certain degree, a normal part of our human experience that, we are anxious. And to know that that's okay to a certain degree and to be able to use any of the tools that you might have to be able to cope through those uncomfortable feelings is important. Something else that would be helpful would be taking deep breaths. I know that sounds so silly. Some people say, just take a deep breath, it'll be okay. But in many ways, that really does work for people. Briefly, it actually triggers your body's relaxation response during these stressful times. Caitlin, I know you love yoga and meditation, and and exercise is another really important way to help keep your body's response to anxiety very calm, so that you can begin to focus on other things. You know, recently through our CIT program, we did do a relaxation and meditation group with our first responders. And surprisingly, it was very well received. And, you know, the first responders that were there were really engaged and were able to describe a feeling of feeling less overwhelmed when it was done and being able to center themselves. I know a lot of our first responders and healthcare professionals are in great shape, so they are exercising. So it's a little bit of all of these tools that will help people be able to overcome these feelings. I think, you know, another important one is for people to be in the moment. It's really hard if you're constantly focusing on what the future holds and not focusing on what's happening in the present. Being able to control what you can control and letting go what you can't is another difficult thing to do for many people, but is also very useful. You know, during this time, it's so important that we're all informed about what's going on. We're watching the news, we're looking at social media, but being able to control how much of that we're doing is important too. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves with everything for 12 hours straight, because then it gets our mind going into places that we have no control over. So it's illogical to think that you can control something that is completely out of your control. But, you know, those things that we can, it's important to do that. And I guess one of the last things I would say is for people to know what the resources are available to them. Yes, these are resources and tools to be able to take deep breaths and meditation and relaxation and exercise. But, you know, here at Care Plus, we also offer our new Hero line that you mentioned, which is a great resource for our first responders and healthcare professionals that we hope people take advantage of to be able to share those feelings and emotions.
Well, Amie, I think, you know, something a lot of people may wonder is, does therapy really help someone who's feeling overwhelmed?
It does. It absolutely does. When you're not able to prevent, you know, these overwhelming thoughts and feelings, therapy is a very helpful way to address them and how you can learn to respond to these feelings. While it's very cathartic to be able to talk to your friends and vent and let it all out for folks who have those types of relationships, that's great. But what therapy does is it almost takes it to another level, and it helps you prioritize things for when you're actually feeling overwhelmed. You'll learn better coping skills and be able to sort through what's actually causing the stress or the anxiety or the feelings of being overwhelmed, to understand what the root cause is. So this way, the next time you're feeling that same feeling, you'll be able to manage that yourself in a different way, and be able to overcome those feelings much more quicker.
Great. So as people become more aware of those kind of triggers, what are self-care techniques that you think would be best for healthcare professionals and first responders to try?
Sure. I mean, again, you know, we did talk about the deep breathing and the exercise and the relaxation. Healthy eating habits is also very important. I know it's difficult for people sometimes to kind of shut it off and go to bed, but healthy sleeping patterns are really important, especially during this time. You know, limiting maybe your caffeine or your alcohol intake is important. If you don't have friends or family or colleagues that you feel comfortable sharing your feelings and experiences with, you know, you can write them in a journal. Just getting them out is so important for folks. And, you know, I know sometimes it's hard to say no, right? You're asked to work an extra shift. You're asked to pick up, you know, another day or add more time to your schedule. While we understand, you know, there are, as everyone calls them, manpower issues, you know, try and limiting that for yourself is to help you better take care of yourself so you can help others. So whenever possible, you know, keep that in mind.
So thanks so much, Amie. There's a lot of really great information that you've shared so far. And of course, we're here to provide more information, but are there any final words of advice that you want to provide our heroes to help them during this time?
Sure. I would say remember for yourselves that your lives and your well-being is just as important as the people you're trying to help. While responding to disasters and things that we're going on in our world are rewarding and very stressful, we should be able to recognize that feeling overwhelmed, is a trigger for many people. And learning how to cope with it and how you respond with it and how you can learn to stay well is so important. If you're not staying well yourself, it's very difficult to take care of others who are affected. Taking breaks for yourself, take time for yourself. Even if it's just sitting in the car, listening to music, not listening to music, just a few minutes a day, will really help you be able to separate that and take care of yourself. I guess most importantly for our frontline workers and our heroes and our healthcare professionals and first responders, know that Care Plus is here for you. We're here, we have this hero line that we created, and I'm so excited to be able to offer that to everybody in Bergen County. And if they just call the number 551-800-HERO, Monday through Friday from 9 to 8, we will have someone there to help you, walk you through whatever's going on. The calls are completely confidential, and we really want to make sure that you guys all have what you need to do well and to be able to help others in our community. And I guess the last thing, and I say this to so many people that I've come in contact with, is just always remember that asking for help is a sign of strength. I know there's so much stigma out there about asking for help in this population that we're focusing on, but just know that we are here for you and that we hope you are able to ask for help.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Amie, for taking the time today and for everything that you've done over the years to support our law enforcement and first responders and now our healthcare professionals. So for those who are watching, as always in our post, we have all types of resources, the Hero call line and hours of operation. For those who are not on the front line, we also have our admissions team available Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. That phone number's here. And we dropped an activity from My Strength in the post called Facing the Waves, which is a nice activity for you to go through and start working through those feelings of being overwhelmed. So thanks again, Amie. Happy Friday. And we'll see everybody next week.
Bye-bye.